Today we're going to be installing the new spoiler I just got. I think it's called the T5i. I bought it off of Car ID. Comes with a built-in brake light. So after you take it out of the box, you got to remove the bolts. And then go ahead and remove the trunk liner. This is just a fastener remover, they just pop out. And I went ahead and vacuumed because my liner was kind of falling apart. Then you're going to take these little pilot hole pieces of paper and tape them to the spoiler. That's to mark where you're going to have to drill. Then you're going to go ahead and line it up on the trunk. Make sure you get like a ruler so that you're level and even on both sides. The issue with my trunk is there's multiple layers of metal where I'm going to have to drill through. But next you're going to tape down to the trunk the pilot holes, and then you're just going to pull straight up on the spoiler, and the pilot holes will stay on the trunk. Then I just used a 1/8 inch drill bit to start the pilot holes, and then I eventually moved up to a slightly bigger bit, I think 5/16. So as you can see, one of the pilot holes goes through the double metal, but I wouldn't be able to get a bolt in there. And the other one's kind of hidden, but that's where the wires are going to go through. So now we're going to wire up the spoiler brake light to the spoiler. So I had to drill a couple pilot holes. Then I had to figure out how to get the wires through that center hole and out the side mount hole. So I ended up tying a string with a weight on it and then fishing it out using gravity and then a paper clip to pull it through. Then I just taped the wire to the end of that and then pulled it all the way through. Then there's a little foam insert to kind of waterproof it. And you just go ahead and screw on the brake light, and it comes with these little fasteners that cover up the brake light. They're red, so they match the brake light and you can't see the screws. Then you can go ahead and remove the tape and cover your engine, and then spray some primer on the drill holes so those don't rust. And wipe off any excess. I started screwing in the 2 bolts that I could get to so that I could have something for the spoiler to rest on. But I wasn't going to be able to drill that hole, so I had to get my Dremel out and cut a slot so I could get something on that bolt to tighten it. And I started screwing them in so that way I wouldn't have to hold it. Might have been easier if I had a second person with me, but it wasn't too bad. And I realized that even this top one, I needed to cut a little space to get my ratchet on it, to make sure it was tight all the way. And got just a different can of primer to make sure those dremeled out areas with exposed metal do not rust. And I plan on painting the car, so I wasn't really concerned with all these multi-colors. But next we're gonna have to wire up the brake light. I wanted to use both brake lights. They kind of tell you to just kind of replace that one, so we're gonna actually just splice into the third brake light. That way they both are operational. Had to cut back the sheathing. Then I got these T-taps, which basically will clamp onto the third brake light wires, and they should puncture the insulation. And then you're gonna have a butt connector that your spoiler light wires are gonna plug into and just crimp down, and then they just plug into it. Pretty simple. So I just clamped on the T-taps onto the third brake light wire, and then I ran the spoiler wire through and underneath the third brake light to kind of get them out of the way. And then I covered them with a sheathing for both heat protection as well as, metal protection so they don't get cut open on accident. Then I crimped on the butt connectors of the spoiler wires, and then just plugged them right into the third brake light T-taps. And then you can just go ahead and connect the third brake light back into the car. And I didn't trim down the excess wire because I wasn't quite sure if I was going to need to extend it. So I just covered it up with the sheathing. Now it looks a lot neater, but I still went ahead and got a zip tie and made sure that the wire stayed closer to the hood latch. Then went ahead and connected the battery, and now it's time to see if it all works. But of course the battery's dead, so I got my Gulu portable jump starter pack and had to start the engine. This thing's pretty nifty. You can start your engine within 30 seconds. But after I got it started, I realized that the spoiler brake lights were not lighting up, so that was an issue. So I went back and checked the connections and pulled off the T-taps and realized that they had not broken through the insulation, so there weren't actually any connection there in either one of them. So I just went back and got some wire strippers and trimmed that down so now you can see the copper, and then I got a razor blade and cleaned it up a little bit better, and then just went ahead and reconnected the T-taps and then plugged it back in. And I installed the new hood liner that I purchased because the other one just crumbled and fell apart. The other half hasn't arrived yet, but they just clip in with little fasteners. Now it's time to test it out, and it works like new. This is the spoiler that I bought. It was like 170 bucks. Bought it unpainted because I plan on painting everything, so thanks for watching. Still plenty left to do with the car, so follow along. That's my TikTok, Instagram, and my YouTube.